Harry, let's talk about the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. What's going on here? On one hand, you've got the Supreme Court saying we're not necessarily going to take up Jack Smith's petition, but we're going to consider it. We're going to hear from the Trump team. Meanwhile, the D.C. Court of Appeals is still continuing with its activities.
Not just continuing, but going in overdrive. So Jack Smith says, you still have it. And so please do a very quick briefing schedule. They did a very quick one, and that shows that they're conscious of trying to move quickly. Now, at the same time, that hasn't changed the special motion that Smith made on Monday to the Supreme Court saying, hey, consider whether to take this case even before judgment, and that includes judgment in the District of Columbia Court of Appeals. So they could still decide, the Supreme Court, to grab it even from the Court of Appeals, but they haven't yet. For now, the Court of Appeals has it, and they're showing every sign of going very quickly. All briefing will be done by January 2nd, and they may well issue a decision within a week or two after that.
Glenn, what are the possible outcomes at the Supreme Court that could have an effect on what the appeals court is doing?
So, well, if the Supreme Court decides to let the case leapfrog over the D.C. Federal Circuit Court of Appeals, then the D.C. Court of Appeals is out of it, and it will be directly in the hands of the Supreme Court to decide. And, I have a feeling it's going to end up there anyway, so it may be that the Supreme Court appreciates the urgency of the moment, appreciates the need to at least attempt to keep the March trial date intact, and maybe they will go ahead and, as Harry said, just grab hold of it and decide it promptly. It's anybody's guess right now. I do think, given that the D.C. Federal Circuit Court of Appeals has put it on this extremely accelerated track with all briefs due by January 2nd, that may give the Supreme Court a little bit of breathing room and a little bit of a comfort level to say, OK, it will quickly go through ordinary channels, and then we can still promptly grab hold of it when the appellate court is done with it.
Harry Litman, you can answer this question by invoking or not invoking Dr. Seuss. But does the Trump argument that you're wrecking Christmas by putting this deadline on, could that hold any water?
Yeah, I don't think so, but it's not the first citation of Dr. Seuss. Justice Kagan, my co-clerk, famously cited one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish in a Supreme Court case that Justice Scalia joined. But I want to just amplify what Glenn said and say it's going to really matter what the DOJ decides to do in its reply brief. It filed the brief to the Supreme Court saying, grab this now. Donald Trump next Wednesday is going to file a brief, presumably saying, "Oh, what's the big rush, guys?" And then the DOJ will come back in. Maybe they'll say, "Let it go now. Let the D.C. Circuit go in its normal time," or maybe they'll say, "No, you're going to maybe be taking it anyway. Time is really of the essence here. Go for it." One thing seems pretty sure to me, because Judge Chutkan said not just the trial but the discovery is on hold. We now are sort of day for day delayed. I think the trial date itself is going to give maybe a month or so in any event. The question is, will it give not more than that?
Okay, regardless, though, Glenn, Donald Trump and his team continue to bring up this immunity situation. So Jack Smith has done what Jack Smith had to do. What's his best and worst case outcome at this point?
Well, worst case scenario is the Supreme Court conjures up out of thin air absolute presidential immunity for a sitting president. He will be given a free pass to commit any and all crimes he wants, including, inferentially, crimes designed to unlawfully retain the power of the presidency. I don't think there's a chance the Supreme Court does that, because there's no statute that provides a president is absolutely immune from prosecution. There is no case law. There's no precedent from any appellate court. And there is no constitutional provision. And those are the three sources of law. So I don't think there's a fourth source out there. I don't know where the Supreme Court could conjure up one. But the consequences couldn't be more dire. If they find a president is absolutely immune from prosecution, the case gets dismissed And any president, including presently Joe Biden, is free to commit any and all crimes they choose to commit.